Have you ever noticed that the quietest person in the room is sometimes the one everyone ends up listening to? They are not the loudest. They are not cutting people off. They are not trying to prove how smart they are. And yet, somehow, when they finally speak, the whole room goes silent. Meanwhile, other people talk nonstop, explain themselves, argue their point, and still get ignored. So what makes the difference? It turns out it is not confidence in the way most people imagine. And it is definitely not about being dominant. It comes down to a few subtle behaviors that make quiet people feel powerful, without saying much at all. Today, I am going to show you 5 silent behaviors that make people control the room without speaking. The first thing that makes quiet people control the room is not what they say. It's the way they stand. Imagine a meeting or a social gathering. Most people walk in with their shoulders slightly closed, eyes looking down, their body shrinking as if they are trying to take up as little space as possible. They haven't said a word yet, but their body has already sent the signal, I don't want to be noticed. And here's the mistake most people never realize. People read your body before they ever hear your words. Someone who walks into a room with a straight back, open shoulders, and their head level doesn't need to say anything. Yet the brains of everyone around them have already labeled them as confident. Psychology calls this the first signal. The human brain is incredibly fast at judging social status just from posture. So the solution is actually simple. When you walk into a room, stand straight, relax your shoulders, and keep your gaze level. You don't need to try to look powerful, just stop shrinking yourself. Because in social situations, your body always speaks before your mouth does. The second signal sounds small, but it completely changes how people see you. Your speed. Notice something interesting. When someone is anxious, they start doing everything faster. They walk fast, talk fast, react fast, and even answer questions before the other person finishes speaking. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think fast means energetic. But in social psychology, fast behavior is often read as a lack of control. Quiet people tend to do the opposite. They move a little slower. They pause for a second before speaking. They don't rush to jump into conversations. And the brain of everyone around them reads that signal differently. This person is not under pressure. In social environments, the person who is not pressured is often seen as the one with status. So try one very small change. Walk a little slower, speak a little slower, don't react immediately. Because when you are not rushing, people start paying attention. The third signal is the one many people find the hardest at first. Eye contact. Imagine you are talking to someone, but they keep looking down at the table, their phone, or somewhere else. Immediately, you feel like something is off. But this is exactly the reflex many people unconsciously repeat every day. And this is where most people get it wrong. They think avoiding eye contact reduces pressure. But to the other person, it sends a completely different signal, lack of confidence. Quiet people tend to have a very natural rhythm of eye contact. They look into the speaker's eyes for a few seconds. Then they briefly look away. And then they return their gaze again. Not staring, not avoiding. This sends a powerful signal. I am completely comfortable being here. The human mind reacts very strongly to that kind of comfort. So practice a very simple rhythm. Look into the other person's eyes for about 3 seconds. Then briefly look away. Then return again. Confidence doesn't have to be spoken. Sometimes it shows through your eyes. But there's one behavior that is even more powerful than everything we talked about before. And it's something most people never notice. This is where it gets dangerous. In a conversation, most people try to talk as much as possible. They want to prove that they are smart, interesting, or important. But the result is often the opposite. The person who talks the most often loses weight in the conversation. Quiet people do something completely different. They listen. Not listening just to wait for their turn to speak, but actually listening. They nod. They ask questions. They pay attention to small details. Psychology explains this very clearly. Humans have a powerful need to be heard. When someone makes you feel important, you naturally respect them more. So instead of trying to speak better, do something simpler. Focus completely on the person who is speaking. When people feel heard, they begin to value your presence, and that changes the entire dynamic of the room. But there's one final weapon that makes quiet people incredibly hard to read: silence. Think about loud arguments. Everyone is talking at the same time. Everyone wants to win. Everyone wants to be heard. In all that noise, no one really stands out. But the quiet person is different. They observe. They wait. They don't rush to jump into the conversation. And when they finally speak, people usually stop and listen. This is a powerful psychological effect called contrast. When someone speaks less, every sentence they say naturally carries more weight. So next time a conversation becomes chaotic, don't rush to join it. Observe first. Listen first. Speak only when you actually have something to say. Because in a room full of noise, the person who controls silence often controls the room. So here's the truth. The people who control a room are rarely the loudest ones in it. They're the ones who are comfortable enough with themselves to not fight for attention. Because when someone stands tall, moves calmly, looks people in the eyes, truly listens, and isn't afraid of silence, something powerful happens. They stop chasing respect, and people start giving it to them automatically. Most people think they need to talk more to be taken seriously. But in reality, the opposite is often true. When you stop trying to prove yourself, your presence becomes stronger. So try this today. Pick just one of these behaviors. Maybe slow down your movements, hold eye contact a little longer, or simply stay quiet and observe before speaking. Watch how the dynamic in the room begins to shift. And if this video helped you, subscribe for more videos like this.